It's all about the pace of our cutting. I would say our fast is not necessarily always flying up the floor. Our fast is how we cut. I think anybody that plays us is going to leave and say, like, man, that team cuts hard. They know where they're going. They're executed well. And like, we move with precision on offense when we're at our best, right? That's what we're trying to do, is just trying to be precise and play with great pace and play and cut hard and move the ball and make sure our timing is right. And when we're flowing like that, we become really hard to get.
Welcome to the Jamodi Podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is Jamodi, just a matter of doing it.
Today we're joined by the assistant men's basketball coach and recruiting coordinator at the University of New Orleans, Trey Lindsey. He started his playing career at Louisiana Monroe and finished his last 2 years at St. Edward's playing for Coach Andre Cook. Coach Lindsey spent 5 seasons as an assistant coach at St. Edward's and then 1 year at Loyola New Orleans in the NAIA. He's been named one of the 50 most influential assistant coaches in Division II. The last 2 years, Coach Lindsey has been the head coach at Bowie High School in Austin, Texas. He had an overall record of 40 wins and 24 losses and snapped a 4-year playoff drought. Before we hear from Coach, take a moment to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on social media at Jamodi Podcast.
How you doing, Coach? Sorry.
There he is.
Yeah, how you doing?
I'm good. How about you, man?
I'm doing great. I appreciate you. Appreciate you reaching out, man. I told you I worked with Andre Cook, and I just got done finishing his episode. It was terrific.
Oh, I appreciate that.
Terrific one. Yeah,
he was awesome. He was awesome for sure.
He's the best.
Yeah,
he's the best, man. Love that guy. I spent 5 years with him, working, and then played for him for 4. So he's been a big part of my coaching progression. So I'll always love hearing him talk.
What was it like going from playing for him to coaching with him?
The relationship just changed so much. Player coach, we had a great relationship. I was 2-time captain with him. We had a great run in our 2 years together. But it was very much just like, hey, like, that's my coach. It was just kind of there was a reverence to it. And now we started going out on the road. So my GA year, the guy that was the assistant coach left, and he's actually out there. He's now, why am I blanking on the name? Jack Dorr. Do you know
Yeah,
Jack? Yeah. So Jack was there when I was playing, and then Jack left. I was coming in as the grad assistant. We hadn't hired a full-time assistant yet. So there was like a 2-month stretch where no full-time assistant. So I acted as the full-time assistant for 2 months. So Coach and I were on the road, recruiting, doing all of that stuff. And then it kind of struck into now this became a friendship. And then, I was the GA for a year, left, and I came back as the full-time assistant. And now we literally live 3 minutes away from each other. His son is a freshman for us at Bowie. And I see him all the time. That's one of my best friends in the world now. So it's, it's become a really, it's been a really cool progression. I knew he was a great coach, but then how he's turned into mentor and friend has really been, has been cool for me.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've always wondered what it would be like to go and work for somebody, that you played for. And
sure.
My high school coach, Tommy Thomas, I would imagine it would have been an awesome opportunity to work for him. He was known as a grinder. So, I would have definitely been putting in a lot of hours with him. And now I have one of my varsity assistants that he actually just started working at our school, and he's in the English department. But part of his job, working here, was he also had to coach a sport, and he had played for me for a couple years, and kind of having him in the gym with me now, there's this special dynamic of how is this different from, what you did? What are your thoughts on some of the changes? What do you see now? He has such a unique perspective.
For sure. And, it's part of it is good because hey, I know what makes him tick. I remember hey, we don't do that.
Yeah.
Because I know that's not going to work. But it was fun, because I got to play in the system with them, and then we kind of help. So, my time there, I spent more time on the defense, but that was more my side of the ball.
I
But
get that now from listening to
yes,
his
from
episode. I
talking to him
get
for
that.
sure,
Yeah.
because he's amazing with the offense, and but we got to kind of help. I got to help kind of add some things, and we kind of molded the offense together, and it became something different. And it's just been, so that part was really cool. He's the best at, like, he let me coach from the beginning, let me get in there, and that's, I've been a part of programs where guys don't really get to coach, right? There's one voice in the gym.
Yeah.
And while his voice is obviously, everybody knows who's running the show, right? Like, he's got a big presence about him, but he was great about letting me coach and get out there and do all of that. And that was huge for me.
How has that influenced you now as a head coach dealing with your assistant coaches? Are you now the kind of, hey, just stand there, let me do my thing? Or did you take a lot from him and your assistants are very active? They have a large voice.
Yeah. And that's part of what I'm trying to be better at this year. So last year was year one at Boone for me, my first head coaching job. And last year was like, okay, came in, we have to get a new system in, got the job whenever the summer hit. And, now obviously we can do summer workouts. So it's like, let's get in, let's get to summer. We got a whole new staff. So 3 new assistants that, right, really, they were hired when I got there. So, like, we were all kind of trying to get to know each other. I was trying to get to know players. They were trying to get to know me. So last year was like, we got to go. We got to just get in. We got to start getting stuff in. And as guys would get more comfortable, like, hey, man, speak up, do your thing. But, like, part of them were like, we want to make sure we're saying the right stuff. Now that we've been together a year, this year we've really tried to focus on, like, to me, the one place we weren't great last year, we weren't narrow focused enough, right? It was very much, we were trying to coach everything.
Yeah.
And that was the one thing that I look back, I'm like, man, I didn't do a very good job of that. I didn't do a good enough job of giving guys roles, and this is what we need to do. So this year we went into the year, we're like, all right, these are the 2 things you're coaching. These are the 2 things you're coaching. My three assistants. Like, let's be great at these 8 things. And if we can be great at those 8 things, I think we'll win a lot of games. More games than maybe we should. I don't know about a lot. I'm like, want to be careful throwing a lot out there.
That's relative. If you won 2 games last year, well, golly, 8's a lot,
Yeah, exactly. So so that's part of where we're trying to focus this year is like, all right, coach your 2 things, and that's your job. That's what you coach, and what you say is the law there, and everybody knows it. So that's where I am trying to be better this year.
You know what sport really has that down and does that well is football.
Yes.
Like they have guys that are specific. Like, obviously they're coaching everyone, but their eyes are really focused on one thing. And if you have the staff that allows it, you got 2 or 3, 4 guys around. I had a great hoops talk with the Kimball coach, Coach Smith, and they got 8 assistants. 8. A lot of them are part-time guys. A lot of them are part-time guys that they just give up their free time. And so it's not like, Kimball's got 8 basketball coaches that are also teaching. No, but like you have that amount, you better use those guys wisely. If you're like me and a lot of coaches where, like, it's a lot of times it's me and 30 kids during the day. So you got to be very selective. But I also think we got to be good with that, like within certain drills. Because, like, to your point, you could try to coach everything, but you're going to end up, in my opinion, missing quite a bit, probably talking too much, maybe missing some things that you really needed to hit. So instead, take a 3-possession game where we're going to play from a free throw down and back. That's 3 possessions. But within this 3-possession game, I'm only looking for one thing. Our focus is this and that. And then be disciplined enough to stick to that so that you're not stopping. Oh, hey, don't forget right here. Oh, and hey, you over here. And all of a sudden it's like that 3 possessions took 9 minutes. And what ends up happening is the kids forget everything and they're getting no reps. So but good nugget right there of being focused and narrow-minded.
Yeah, we're trying, that was our conversation. Like, guys, we're all coaching a lot right now. So, like, we're really coaching nothing, right? Like, 3 of us just corrected different, like, three of us just tried to all correct the same thing. Like a terminology may be a little different, which again, we're trying to, this year two of a staff, we have one new guy on the staff this year. So all that is kind of trying to get tightened up. Man, I feel like we're missing things because like when we're all just watching it all, what did we actually see? So that's the focus this year. And we've been, to my assistant coach's credit, they've been great. We added like a mental mistake chart. So now in the middle of practice, they know like call out your mistakes. And boom, such and such defensive execution breakdown. We do that. So they know they're doing that. And the goal is, hey, we've got to call out 10, 4 of them better be positive. So like, let's make sure we're also applauding, the things that we're trying to be great at. We got to applaud what we want to be great at. So that's been a big part for us too, is like, all right, we're going to hit them for the things that we're getting wrong, but we also want to make sure like, let's praise them when we're getting it right.
You're right.
I think that part's important.
You're right on the money. Like you got to hit those positives because the truth is we do say a lot of good things and we do build up players quite a bit, but golly, they only hear that negative one. And so to give ourselves just a chance, I think it's like almost a 6-to-1 ratio.
Right.
You got to be 6 positives for every one, and not negative. Don't even look at it that way, right? But one constructive criticism, and if they're coachable, if they one thing that Chad Sanjay at PGC always did really well. It didn't feel natural for me, but he would get everybody together and he'd ask them what their aspirations are, what are their goals. And obviously there was like 100 athletes there. So it's like, how many of you want to win a state championship? How many of you want to play in college? How many? And they'd ask it and he'd be like, do I have your permission to hold you accountable, hold you to the standards, hold you to those aspirations?
Yes.
I think there's an interesting point there of having players give us the opportunity, allow us to do that, even though, we could just do it by force, but we want that buy-in. And what a way to hold them accountable when we can come back with, don't forget, you wanted this. You asked for this.
Yes, exactly.
I think that's a way buy-in, right? Is what we all really want. And I think that's a good way to get it.
Yeah, I love it. I got to see Chad in action one time. I went to PTC, this was years ago, and got to sit in, and Chad was running it, and he was great. Like I thought he was great with dealing with kids, and and you would see him, he'd bring them back in. Hey, we're kind of getting away from this. You guys told me this is what you want. Are we still okay with me doing this? Yeah, right. Coach, we're good. All right, then here we go. Then let's correct it. And I thought he was great about that.
And he would say, he'd be like, and guys, if you don't, one-on-one, you can come up to me, you can let me know. And I always thought, like, I wonder if he's just saying that, or but I asked him about that. He said, no, like, I'm serious. If they don't want me to hold them to those standards, to their aspirations, I won't do that.
Right.
And I think, I mean, not that we want to give up on players, because that's just a 5-day camp where they've got 100 kids. Like he's going to give his time to the guys that want it.
Right.
I think we continue to try, but there is this idea of, and I think we've told players before, if you're not hearing your name called very often, if you're not getting corrected very often, it's two things. You're either doing everything right, or we don't feel like you really want that coaching, because we're not going to just give up on you. And so I think it is kind of important maybe to call our players on that occasionally of like, listen, if you don't want to have your feet held to the fire like this, let me know one-on-one. And you know what? I'll hold back. And I think it's safe to talk about the consequences of that. You may not improve the way that you think you can. You may not reach those aspirations that you said you wanted.
Exactly. No, I think it's super important, Coach. And we, that our thing with our guys is always like, this is never personal. This is all about the good of the program. If there's something that's not meeting the standard, we're always going to confront it. And it's never going to be, there's never name calling. There's never any of that. We're simply talking, you're not doing this well enough. This is how we need to fix it. And we're lucky here. I'm lucky I took over for Sylvester Collier, was here 32 years. I played for CC.
Oh, wow.
I played for him at Bowie. So Bowie is home for me. That's part of,
That's pretty cool.
Honestly, going back to high school was never the plan. College was always the plan. But Coach Collier was like a second father to me. His son and I have been best friends since preschool. And Coach Collier is there was not a culture problem at Bowie. A lot of people come in and it's like, oh, we got to fix this place. That was never the issue here. This was like, Coach Collier is he's a giant in Austin. Like he is a legend in this area. So coming in, these kids knew how to be coached. They knew how to be corrected. They knew it wasn't personal. Now it was a different personality and a different person doing it.
Yeah.
But like that was not the issue. So I was so lucky last year in year one. I had a great group of seniors who came in and they were willing to be coached. They were willing to take that, because that's not always the case for first year coaches. Sometimes like, this isn't how we do things. And I was super lucky that I had those guys, and they bought in. And because of that, we had a good season that I was really proud of. But now year two, like this is now a group that's been with me a year. They kind of understand how I operate, and I'm really lucky this year that I've got a group that like I enjoy seeing these guys every day.
Yeah.
And sometimes I have to remind myself of that. Like, they're not always going to be like this, right? Not every team is going to be like, man, I love going in. They work hard. They listen to the coach. We can meet in the office and laugh and talk after. Like,
those are special years. Yeah, special
yes.
years. And you look back on your wall or whatever, wherever that you think about your teams, and you think about those guys fondly. And I think too, like you made a good point about it not being personal. One way I feel like to help that is to treat them like individuals, meaning they're different.
Right.
Like people say, you got to coach them all the same. I think we hold everybody to the same standards, but how we go about correcting, how we go about addressing issues, I think that needs to be more on an individual basis, because then that keeps them. I mean, if you're lucky enough to have a kid that you can just rip apart and he wants that, loves that, comes back. Not lucky, I don't know. I don't know if that's a good thing, but like, if your best players can be coached hard, then you probably have a really good chance to reach everybody. But at the same time, it's like people learn differently, people communicate differently, people want to be corrected differently. And I think a way to keep it less personal is to meet them where they are when you're given those corrections.
Exactly. It's funny, Coach. So last year to begin the season, we do a lock-in. It's not really a lock-in, but we go to dinner, we come back, we play a game. They have some food. We hand out Letterman jackets from the year before. We vote for captains. We talk about team goals and aspirations and all that stuff. And then we sit around the circle, sit around the bulldog that you see behind me.
Yeah.
And we talk about, okay, like, what do you guys need from us? Especially year one. I'm like, okay, this is all new. We're all figuring each other out still. What do you guys feel we need more of? So we start going around the circle, and I had one of my guys who I love. He's back with us this year. He goes, Coach, I need you to yell at me more. I'm like, man, I feel like I yell a good amount. Like, I'm not saying like I'm not saying I'm crazy, but like I feel like I yell a good amount. He's like, I need you to yell at me more. Okay, man, you got it. So I started coaching that way for the next like month and a half, beginning of the season, and he was struggling. He was struggling with it. And he finally comes back to me in the office. And he's like, Coach, I just feel like you're always on me. I'm like, hey, man, like you told me this is what you wanted.
Don't you remember our chat? Yeah, like
dude, this was your words. But it was great because he came in, he talked, and okay, Coach, this is what I need. I need you to be a little more patient with me. I need you to work with me here. And we completely changed the way that we coached him the rest of the year. And he progressed. He started to get more and more minutes last year. And now he's playing great. And like his progression is so big. And it's just, I honestly think the fact that he was comfortable enough to come in the office and say, Coach, this isn't working was great. And it honestly changed his and I's relationship. And it's changed his trajectory as a player because he's just got more confidence to get out there and play now. And he knows, okay, Coach isn't just going to he's not going to just drop the hammer every time he sees a mistake. And that originally, that's what I thought he wanted. Yeah. But he's allowed to change his mind, and we just keep working to try to get it right. And I think that was a big lesson for me in year two, that I'm like, okay, we can, it's okay to adjust. This plan isn't working. Like, we got to figure something else out to get this right.
Yeah, it would have been a huge failure if he comes in and tells you that and you say, no, listen, I'm going to hold you to what you said. Because I think we got to be careful. I think some players say things to coaches that they feel like coaches want to hear. Like I think a lot of players believe that we want guys that we can just rip apart and they won't fall down or they won't fall apart. And I think, I mean, maybe there was a time, when that was a popular strategy, but I don't know. Golly, getting to talk to like 180 coaches on here. I haven't talked to many of them that I hate kids. I don't really care about what their thing is. Like, and I just want to win. I don't care what the cost. Like, not many, no one's doing that. So the good for you, like, awesome story there too of the culture that you've not. You said it's been great, but you kept going and cultivated even more to where he felt like he could come in and tell you that, and then to your point for making the change, that's big time.
Yeah, no, I think, it's all a learning process, coach, as you know, right? It's early on. Every day is a little bit of an experiment for me, just trying to figure out how to be a head coach. But, we don't want to be mad every day. I love going into the gym and laughing and having a great time with the team. Like I don't want to be at a 9-10 every day. Like nobody can live that way. Well, if they can, I'm amazed by them. But
watch the Florida thing. Watch that Florida Netflix deal, The Swamp or whatever, and just see what Urban Meyer's life was like at that time, winning championships and being absolutely stressed out and miserable. Hard to live that way.
Hard way to go through life, and I don't want to do it. Not for high school kids. That we got too many good kids, too many kids I love being around to live at a 9 or 10 and be mad every day.
Coaches, the Jamodi podcast is powered by Shoot 360. The future of basketball has arrived in Dallas-Fort Worth. Shoot 360 combines the latest sports technology with the fundamentals of basketball skill development. The result is a one-of-a-kind video game-like basketball program designed to improve your shooting, dribbling, and passing. Visit shoot360dfw.com to learn more and register for your free 1-hour workout evaluation. Shoot 360, the future of basketball is here. Kind of a unique situation that you're in with the last, 9 years? We're in college basketball as a player, GA, and then as a coach, or 10 years?
Yeah, I guess, man, I have to get count. I started playing 10, 11 in college, did prep school first at West Point, left there, kind of had a roundabout path. Then I was at Louisiana Monroe for 2 years, playing Division I, then transferred to St. Ed's, got hurt, played 2 years for Coach Cook, then was his grad assistant, then left, went to Loyola University in New Orleans, my first full-time job as the assistant coach for Stacey Hollowell there. And then after a year, back to St. Ed's, and I was there 4 with Coach Cook. So yeah, about 10 years.
Wow. There's a lot right there. I mean, that's probably a podcast in itself, as the journeys that you have. But what my point is being mainly in the college world for the last decade or so, and then going back to high school, typically you got guys that are assistants in high school at some point, or head coach in high school, they go to college and maybe they come back. What's been some of the big, I don't know, kind of eye openers for you, the lessons that you've kind of learned going from college basketball as a player and coach for so long, right into the high school world as a head coach?
Right. Yeah. I mean, a lot of it was just figuring out, like, first of all, you get these guys so much. Honestly, like, in Texas, we get our guys every day. I've got a freshman basketball period every day, and I've got a JV varsity period every day. So, like, seeing these guys every day, and, like, part of me worries that it's too much sometimes, Coach, honestly. Like, I worry, I'm like, man, these guys have to hear my voice all the time. And that has been a huge adjustment for me. Because, even in college, we got 4 hours a week on the court. Division II, that's what we did. We got 4 hours a week. So we didn't see them as much, and it was kind of, skill and, older guys that just kind of get it. And, they were all the best players on their team. So that I was used to that level. And now having to take over a program, and, Bowie High School has 3,000 students, just under it. So one of the bigger schools in Austin, and varsity program, JV, freshman A, freshman B, and you're in charge of all of them. And then having to figure out, a new group of coaches, like, like we got 60 something kids every day that they walk in the gym and they're like, what does that guy think today?
4 hours
What
a
are we
week
doing?
with 12 dudes compared to,
Oh, to
yeah,
60. Oh,
yeah.
it's that part has been unbelievable. So just trying to navigate that every day has been a huge adjustment for me, coach. And we're lucky here, like at Bowie, we've got really, really good kids, high achievers, really smart, good families, all of that stuff. And they're super coachable. So we're really lucky with that. But, you know, on top of all that, I went from my entire focus every day was basketball, it was recruiting, it was practice, it was that sort of stuff. And now, like, you add a teaching load to it.
Yeah.
So I just trying to figure out how to navigate that, how to become a teacher, how to become a head coach, how to deal with a completely new staff, how to deal with 4 teams, run practice every day. My head was spinning last year, coach. It was
Yeah.
spinning. And on top of that, we had our daughter, my wife and I had our first kid.
Oh my
We
goodness.
moved. I mean, it was just like last year
Horrible
was
planning there, coach. Or no.
oh, it was terrible. It was terrible, coach. So last year was just about surviving and trying to get through. And I'm lucky. I've got a great athletic director, a principal that's super supportive, and so they hung with me and helped me through trying to figure out how to be certified while the year was going on. And we made it through. But I love where I'm at. I love the level. I love coaching this group of kids. And so I've been super lucky that, you know, they gave a 31-year-old his first head coaching job, and he's never taught a day in his life.
That's big time, man. And obviously it speaks to your character. I mean, the people in that town and that school, they knew you from going there. Obviously, the former coach probably gave you a really good recommendation. But you know, you're right on the money. I think a lot of people feel like public school coaches have all this time. You know, what a great job. They just coach basketball. No, when I was at McKinney High School for 5 years, basketball was the smallest part of my job. I had 5 English classes. I did volleyball, girls volleyball A and B for 3 years. You know, it's like, and then that one little sliver was basketball. And obviously, as a varsity assistant, head coach, you have a little bit more. But one of the biggest reasons why I came to Grapevine Faith, not only I believe in the school and the mission, I never thought about going to private schools before. In fact, when I was at McKinney, they were like the enemy, you know, and
Right.
you know, and they're always got their arms around our kids and all this stuff. But at Faith, you know, I love the mission, but they also said I wasn't qualified to teach here. And I said, you're absolutely right. So what am I going to do? And they said, you know, we got some study halls for you. So I've got off periods and study halls in basketball. So it's like kind of living the dream. When I say that to people, they don't get it. Like, because of where I've been at Naaman Forest and at McKinney, I know what is out there. This is awesome. And so anyway,
amazing.
I appreciate you sharing that. I want to ask about their standards and pillars of your program, because like you said, as a first-time head coach, typically you're taking job. I was the 3rd guy in 3 years here, you know, so there had been some turmoil. And the guy before me did a good job. He took the Prestonwood, Coach Lovell took the Prestonwood job. And so it wasn't like it was in a bad place, but you're coming off of what, 32, you said 32 years at the same place.
Yeah.
How much of the culture that you played in, that the coach had, are you pushing on, continuing forward? How much of those standards and pillars are you bringing yourself?
Right. No, you try to carry on like the things that made Bowie great, right? The things that made Coach Collier so successful, we try to carry on, right? We knew we were going to play hard. We knew we were going to be disciplined. All of the things that, like, these are the basics that we know we have to do to win, right? We wanted to make sure we continued to do those, but also trying to make sure that I do things that, you know, I've got to be me. It's got to, the program has to somewhat resemble the way that I like to operate. And so the biggest things for us, and, you know, it's just different. Obviously, a young coach versus a guy that had been doing it for 32 years. Part of us are just, we're going to have some differences. So, you know, our big things, coach, like, energy, effort, enthusiasm. Those are three things that are like, that's non-negotiable for us. Every day you better bring it. You better come in. You better have great energy when you come into practice. Better be ready to play hard. You better give great effort, right, in everything we do. That's drills, that's scrimmages, that's in the classroom, all of those things. And then we want them enthusiastic. Our practices just where Coach Collier was, the practices were a little more quiet. The guys were a little like, we just get in, we just operate, we get through practice, we do what we do, we go hard, we get out. We're trying to get, we want them to be loud. I hate when it's a quiet gym. I just don't operate well when it's a quiet gym. So we want our guys clapping, encouraging, talking, because there is part of it too, Coach. They've been in class all day. They get to basketball. Let's have something. Let's have an outlet. I know that this isn't necessarily the end all be all for all our players. Some of these guys don't want to play college basketball or just aren't going to be able to play college basketball. This is it for them. And I want to make sure that, like, hey, they leave after 4 years. And my goal is if they leave feeling the way about Bowie that I did my job, because I loved my time there. And so that's kind of my goal. That's really what drives me every day is I want these kids to leave feeling the same way about this high school that I did. And I hope that when they leave and come back years later that they've still got a pride about being a Bulldog. And so that's really kind of what drives me every day.
I can feel that. I can feel that from you. And I've thought about this for years. I love Faith. I have no plans on leaving. And I would literally, it would have to be a calling. I'd have to feel led to leave. But I have thought about the Colony quite a bit because that's where I played. And, and just the amount of pride that I had, and what that school meant to me. I can't imagine what it'd be like for you, going back there. So I feel that from you and how you're talking about it, because you see some coaches, there's nothing wrong with changing jobs, obviously, but you see guys that year after year, they're changing, but they talk about each place like the same way. And it's kind of like, oh man, I just saw that like a year ago, but it doesn't mean that I don't. That's bad. I'll probably have to edit. No, I'm not going to edit that. It's like, but it doesn't mean that they're not genuine. I think you got to be all in. You got to be where your feet are. But there is something different about, man, I was literally in your shoes, and played for that guy. One thing I love. Go ahead.
Sorry, it's just, there's a pride taken over from Coach Collier for me.
Yes,
there just is. Especially. My relationship with him was even a little different from the other guys that played, just because I grew up in his house. Like I was going to his camp since I was in first grade. Like I was too young to even be in, and he was great for me for that. So like the fact that he endorsed me for this job, the fact that he supported me so much, he still comes back. I can call him anytime I want. Like it's just a different level of love and pride because of that. And, I've been lucky to play for some great coaches, him and Coach Cook too, obviously two that are super special to me. So that part has just been, that's been the coolest part about being back at Bowie is like, let's carry on his legacy. Let's make sure that a Bulldog got that job, right? It's another member of the family who's going to keep it rolling. So, and that's been great. So the community's been great because of that, because all those people that spent 30 years with Coach, taught him, he taught driver's ed, he did all this, they all get to come back now and they're like, Trey got the job, one of ours is in there. And so that's been great because that's really helped us continue with the alumni support and all of that as well. So that's been huge for us.
I like that you start with energy. And I guess the question is we're about a decade apart, in age. I'm 41, you're 31. So I'm a lot older, but I think at what point did it start to make the shift from energy and enthusiasm in a practice is wanted? Because, early 2000s when I played, it was a quiet gym every day except for one voice yelling.
Right.
And now Coach Drew did come in and he did change that dynamic a little bit, really enabled his assistants like Coach Driscoll, Coach Tang, Coach Mills. They all had pretty loud voices in there. They did, like you mentioned, you want them to look forward and have fun. Like, what a great idea that basketball is a fun time for them it shouldn't feel like pre-cal. It shouldn't feel like physics.
Yes.
It should be like, this is basketball. We get to be here. Where do you feel like, or when did that make that shift happen? Where it became more of a premium to have those type of attributes in practice rather than that silent environment.
Right. It's funny you ask, because for me, it was when I got to St. Ed's, because I again grew up where it was more of a, at Bowie it was even more a quiet gym. I wasn't saying it was a dictatorship, but it was more of a quiet gym, because it was when coach speaks, we listen, we lock in. That's what we do. My time in Louisiana, same thing. Keith Richard, who's a hell of a coach, same thing. Coach speaks, we listen. It's pretty quiet. We know who's running the show here. When I got to St. Ed's, man, I just felt like when coach was asking for energy, when we got to talk, and we got to encourage each other, when we got to celebrate each other's wins, like it brought back a love for basketball to me that I maybe, there is a point in college sometimes where like it can become a job. Like, man, we're lifting, we're doing all this. Like at some
Yeah.
points, like, and when you're not winning very much, which we were not while I was playing Division One, we were not winning much. Sometimes it was like, man, this is tough. When I got to St. Ed's and we started doing that, like kind of clicked for me, like, man, I love being out here in this environment. Like this suits me. I'm energetic. I'm kind of fiery. I probably talk too much, but like, man, I get to go be myself out there. And so like practices were fun. We played every day. We got to you got to see your boys. The beginning of practice while you're warming up, coach was fine if you were talking, catching up with each other. So it didn't feel like, man, we're going to work. It's like, man, we get to go to practice now.
Yeah.
And so because I love that so much, now I've tried to take that and carry that over. And especially in the high school ranks, I think that's important because, again, not all of these guys are in this for lifelong basketball. Some are in it because they just like the sport. They like to be a part of a team. And the experience is a big part of this. There's only one team every year in each division that gets to hold up a state championship, and I understand that. So we've got to make sure that these guys leave and they feel good about the school. And I think if they're enjoying it, we're also going to get the most out of them later, because if they're in it every day, they look forward to being there. They're going to be more engaged. And I think because of that, we'll get more out of them when it is winning time. And so that's what we're trying to do right now. Coaches try to figure out how to keep letting them play, keep letting them enjoy it. And we're lucky that right now we've got a group that really loves to play too. So that makes practice special every day.
I think it's a great reminder about the experience. Right. And even though you had that carrot in front of you dangling to play in college, I did too. Mm-hmm. I still had a great experience, and my high school coach was a huge part of that.
Right.
Yeah, when I was with PGC for a few years, and I listened to a lot of those D3 players talk about their coach and their experience at that level. They talked about it with a fondness, like they loved their coach, they loved their teammates, they were brothers. I didn't have that experience.
Right.
And the experience really does matter. And at this level, I think for us not to be conscious of creating that type of environment where they do look back. There's not going to be perfect days, there's going to be some low times, but there's got to be a lot of high times too. And I'm going through this Jocko Willett book about extreme ownership right now, and how everything that goes wrong as a leader is our fault. Right. Everything. It's never, and when you take that type of ownership, I think we need to take that approach to the experience that our players are having and do our very, very best to create a good one for them.
Yeah, I love that, Coach. And that's the goal every day. If they leave feeling good every day, you hope they go home, they're like, man, basketball was the best part of my day. Then I think that's a great way to go through it.
And you know what? I feel like you can still be a tough coach and do that. I think you can still hold them to high standards and do that, because the moment that we start talking about experience and feelings and fun, I mean, I know like there's even a part of me that's like, you're just not serious then. Like You're obviously not getting work done. You're probably not going to win. Like it's true. A lot of those dudes that I've talked to that have won state championships, they talk about winning state championships. And then you hear about like Nick Saban, who says, hey, don't talk about winning. They talk about the process. I don't know. I think it's possible to talk about experience, joy, having fun while maintaining a high level of discipline, high standards, and getting better.
Yes. Yeah. And that's, our guys know, like, they know when it's time to go, it's time to go. And they know I'm going to get after them. They know we're going to confront anytime we're not meeting that standard. Boom, it's going to be confronted, and it's not always going to be nice. But I think it's important that they also feel comfortable enough, like, that guy still loves us. I still want him comfortable enough to be able to stop in the office and have those conversations. I don't want him scared of me. That's not what I want it to be. It shouldn't. To me, it shouldn't be about fear. I want this to be a real, genuine relationship that goes beyond basketball. They're not all special relationships. Not all kids. They're not all going to connect like that. But 2 years in, I'm already lucky to have some that I'm like, man, that's a kid I'll talk to forever. So those are the great ones that you hope you get more of those. And I think the only way to do that is to make sure they know you really care about them, and you care about the way that things are going for them, instead of just making it dictatorship every day, because that's exhausting for player and coach.
Coaches, the Jamodi podcast is powered by Ballogy. Manage and measure your players' skill development and increase accountability year-round utilizing the Ballogy app. Boost inter-squad competition with drills backed by the National High School Basketball Coaches Association, including a 40-shot Ballogy skills assessment. Please visit ballogy.com/teams for information on how you can provide this resource for your team. How does your style of play differ from what Coach Collier?
Yes.
From what Coach Collier did in his time there. I'm not saying his style didn't change over the years, but you played for him. He's been there for a long time. How is it the same? How's it different?
Yeah. So while I played for Coach, we were Bob Knight motion, 4-round 1-3-1 matchup zone. And there was a lot of games we won like 32-30. we won a lot of games like that. And we were always going to be prepared. We were always going to be ready. Game was a little bit slower, but we found ways to beat teams that we probably shouldn't have. And I thought he was great about that. I'm a little more free flowing, Coach. Like, we play a very similar style to St. Ed's. We run a lot of stuff. We play fast. We shoot a lot of threes. I try to give guys a lot of freedom to go. Because it's very off the ball heavy, a lot of reads out of staggers, split action, all of that stuff that is what we like to do. That's kind of where we feel like we make our money. But our guys have a lot of freedom to let it go, and a lot of freedom to just go be basketball players. So that is probably the biggest change. We have games where we shoot 35 threes and
let's go, Coach.
And 14 twos, and I leave, and I'm like, oh man, like that. I don't know if this is sustainable, but I think that's fun.
That breakdown's extreme, like that.
Yeah,
I think a good marker is 40%. 40% of our attempts, even up to 50%, are from the 3-point line. Typically the flow and style is what we like. Anytime I feel like we teeter too far past that, I don't know. It typically, I think getting to the paint, finishing around the rim, getting to the free throw line is still a huge part to winning.
Agreed. And we're trying to be better this year. We're already, like, it's become an emphasis for us. So, we want those guys playing confident. And if it's out of good basketball, if it's out of what we do and we're getting open shots, like, give them the confidence to rise up and knock it down. And that's what we preach all the time. So, style, again, Coach was super successful. He won 1 million games with the style that he played. But I also think that we've got the personnel, really smart kids that are skilled. We definitely don't have like the super athletes, but we've got a bunch of guys that are willing to play together and play as a team. So I think our style fits the program. Now it's just about, continuing to install, continuing to get it right, continuing to tinker with it. And I think even just the jump from year 1 to year 2 has been huge for us.
Typically, when I think of playing fast or watch teams or people talk about that, it is a lot more of ball in hand, ball doing the work, ball creating action for teammates in space. How have you been able to still play fast but do a lot of off-ball action, which I would feel like typically makes the ball have to wait or hold for
Right.
action to develop. How do you keep that speed up?
Yeah, I think to me it's all about the pace of our cutting, right? That's what I would say our fast is not necessarily always flying up the floor. Our fast is how we cut, right? And I think anybody that plays us is going to leave and say like, man, that team cuts hard. They know where they're going. They're executed well, and like we move with precision on offense when we're at our best, right? That's what we're trying to do. Is just trying to be precise and play with great pace and play and cut hard and move the ball and make sure our timing is right. And when we're flowing like that, we become really hard to guard because you're going to guard a lot of stuff. You're going
Yeah.
to guard a lot of different actions on every possession.
That's why I'd zone you. That's why I'd zone
Yeah,
you.
yeah. Well, and we see a good amount of it, but again, we're teams like they're so willing to shoot the three, like
Sure.
but it
Let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, because I've run into that. I mean, we like to get 35 to 40 attempts up in a game, and I'm way more focused on attempts than how many we actually make. Because I think the more you take, the more you make. More like a West Headian in that way. But I've found that some teams don't zone us because of our willingness to shoot. But then when we do get zoned, our guys are less aggressive. They don't take shots that I feel like, golly, like I tell them when we see a zone, it's a license to pull. Like, yeah, I mean, we should shoot even quicker.
Yeah,
but have you felt that like they don't do it, but man, like in my opinion, it's not a bad strategy.
Right. Yeah. No, I think a lot of times our guys just get so shot because we don't so. That's been a big part for us. We're all man to man. So like what we do is we play out of our offense, and that's what that's what we spend the majority of our time on is getting our offense down and playing right. So I think sometimes when we see a zone, our guys come out are almost like, whoa, like what is this? But as the year progressed last year, we got more and more comfortable with just like, let's get the ball right against the zone. We're very simple. Let's get the ball to the right spots, short corners, middle. Let's drive gaps. Let's kick, right? Let's attack the paint first, but then if we can kick, like you're letting it go. And as the year progressed last year, the more we saw zone, the better we got at it. And I thought we did get really, really willing to shoot it. And so we hurt some teams late and tried it with us.
And I love the way you defined fast because you're right. I mean, some teams think they play fast just because the ball travels down the court quickly. But when they get there, it's slow.
Right.
The ball doesn't move. Guys don't move. And so fast isn't just how quickly you get there. I mean, I like your idea of a sprint finishing cuts. To me, it's something that I've struggled holding my guys accountable to, that remembering like after they move it, they have to move, and there's deliberate places where they do cut. And without even realizing it, I'm allowing jogging cutters. And then I'm frustrated of why we're not attacking gaps better. Well, it's because that gap is really slow in materializing, and there's a defender dragging through that doesn't feel any pressure, could just sit there, but it's like, I think you're right on the money. Playing fast doesn't just mean that you run down, you jack it up quickly. You cut fast, which means you play fast.
Yeah. And that, we're not coach. We're not positionless. We're not as conceptual as some other people may see. But the one place that I think we've kind of gotten it right is, we've got our base motion, the base things that we do. We know we're going to play off pin downs. We know we're going to play off staggers. We know we're going to play off our pinch post actions. We know we're going to play off those. And so we've defined those. We know what our four options are to cut on all of them. They know exactly what they are. So we kind of started very base, and the beginning part was slow because it was okay. I'm going here. And then as we started to introduce more options to them and start giving them some freedom to do it. Now the reads are fast to them because there is a base there for them. It's not just go out there and play in concepts. Okay, we know that these are the things that we do, and then let's be great at these cuts. And because of that, because there is a structure to it, and because they know their four reads so well that we work them every day, I feel like that allows them to cut with confidence. instead of should I have done this, should I have slipped here, they know this is what we do and let's go at them. And that's the one place I feel like we've gotten it right is
Yeah.
they defined structure with some freedom in it, with them understanding like, hey, we're going to let you play out of these concepts, let you play out of these ideas, let you play out of these cuts. But then when you do it, it's about going. And that's where I feel like that has helped us with our speed and our cutting because now they know that's where I'm going, when I'm doing it, why I'm doing it. And to me, that has helped us play as fast as we play.
That's good, man. I mean, clarity breeds confidence. Like
Yeah.
the more clear we are with expectations and what we want players to do, the more confident they'll be. Indecision shows a lack of confidence. Where does indecision come from? That they don't really know what they're supposed to be doing. That is why one of the scary parts of running more of a free-flowing conceptual style offense is the idea that there's not that many musts that they have to do. There's a lot of possibilities. And them making the right choice in those possibilities can make you just like, oh, not that one. Oh, why that one? But then it's kind of like jazz music. There's a few times where, man, all the instruments just come together and it's beautiful. There's a few stinkers, though, in that as well.
100%. And there is an art in the way we play as well. But, you know, I admire the guys we have. You know, we have guys in our league, you know, Westlake High School, Rob Lucero, his guys play super free and he wins all the time. Ben Kinnison over at Buda Johnson High School, his guys play super free. Like, I admire the way those guys do it. We've got great coaches in our league. I'm not that comfortable with it.
Yeah,
I wish I could be. I honestly, part of me wishes I could be. But, you know, I also think the fact that we have that structured style, and when guys watch us, they, you know, it's because there's so many different ways to cut and different ways for us to continue to flow. Like, I think people think it's super complicated, but we can kind of narrow it down to three things. So, like, if you can play out of these three things, you can run our system, whether you know it or not. Yeah. And that has given our guys a lot of confidence, and just now they fly through offense. And you know, you can tell when the ball is popping and we're cutting. Like, I think we're going to get great shots. Now it's about knocking them down, and we're, you know, it's a make and miss game sometimes, but. I do love the way that our guys are flowing through offense and what that's allowed our offense to turn into.
TJ Rosine said that self-awareness is a superpower. Like knowing who you are, knowing what you can tolerate and what you can't, and not comparing, not looking down the road at, oh man, look how fast and free they play. Because if it's not, and man, how many years? Golly, 14, 15 years ago, I'm not playing free. Wes Watson at McKinney High School really allowed me to kind of gave me the offense of at that time. He wanted to press, and so we wanted to complement those two well. And so dribble drive was just kind of big at the time with Calipari, and I got a packet and I put it in. Didn't even know who Vance Wahlberg was, or the fact that Brackle did it. You know, I didn't even know, and it was just kind of that click moment where I think maybe my influences with Pistol Pete back in the day, you know, and his showmanship a little bit and freedom he played with, and Coach Thomas allowed us to do that, you know, but then college was completely different. And then I started out really thinking that sets were the way, and you had to only play man, and but it's like, I think if you know what you like and what you're confident in, then that's going to translate into your players. It's when coaches are trying to force a system that they don't really believe in, or a style of play that they don't really trust, because they're going to abandon it when things go bad, and then players see right through that.
Exactly. To me, Coach, it was, let's be different at Bowie. Like, let's be the goal is, because we have Westlake, we have Lake Travis, Johnson, Drippin Street. We have we had, I think, 3 of the top 15 teams in the state last year in our district. It's like, how are we going to be different, be hard to guard, be something like every time we roll into the gym, teams like, we haven't seen that before. You know, that's part of our goal. Like, I want
Yeah.
teams to, like, they start watching the film, like they look and they're like, what the heck is that? Like we're gonna have to scout this. We're gonna have to be ready for this. Like I want them to be preparing for us instead of being so focused on themselves.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like I said, those coaches are so good; they are ready. And that there's a reason they win 30 something games a year.
Yeah.
But that's kind of been the goal for us: is how can we find a system that fits us, that makes us different, because we don't necessarily get the same athletes that some of these other schools get. I felt like it was important to find something that just this fits, the personnel of this school. And year in, year out, we have smart kids that typically shoot the ball pretty well and are willing to play as a team. So I think it fits us pretty well. So now we just got to keep tightening up and figure out how to beat some of those great coaches that don't lose very often.
Yeah. But I do appreciate, I think that's a good nugget that you said that a lot of coaches should think about, especially in between seasons, obviously mid-season. I don't know. I am more of a Jason Garrett type of this is who we are.
Right.
Process.
Right.
He wasn't very popular in Dallas because of that, but
Yeah.
I appreciated that part.
Right.
But I think looking around at your district, in whatever league you play in, whatever level, and figure out how you're going to win.
Right.
Because you could want to run and gun,
Mm-hmm.
but if you're going to go and whatever doing that, I don't know how long you really have a job.
Yeah.
Or how long you have the belief in your players, no matter how much fun, quote unquote fun, one style may be, but giving your guys something they believe in, you believe in, that gives you a chance. And you know what I thought about when you said something different, like you're right on the money. Playing fast isn't that special anymore. Everybody says they're doing it. Everybody is attempting to do it. And like if anybody gets a job, they rarely say, I want to have a horrible culture and I want to play slow. They say the other side of it. And so that's where I'm kind of like on this, maybe 11, 12 years into it now or closer to 14 of running and gunning and playing fast. I'm thinking, what now? Like what next? Because we're not that special anymore. I don't feel like we're that unique, but at the end of the day, I have to trust that I'm going to allow my guys to shoot more courageously than others. And we can still hang our hat on that.
Well, clearly, whatever you're doing, coach, is working because you keep having great years. So I don't think anybody caught up to you yet. So I think you're doing just fine.
So we have talked a little bit about confidence and how you instill that in players, but I want to go a little bit deeper if you can of it is something that I feel like as coaches we need to be conscious of. I think it's debatable whether we create confidence in players or not. And I think most coaches would say that confidence comes from their hard work and preparation, but we do play a part in that. How do you build confidence in your players?
That's a great question, Coach. And of course, there is a part that is hard work, preparation, all the stuff on there. I think that is a huge part of it. But, to me, Coach, if we could, a lot of these kids could use a sports psychologist, right? Like, I think there's so much that there's so many things going through these kids' heads right now. We spend a lot of time in one-on-one meetings with kids. Like I try to bring a kid in basically every day before practice. And again, there's so many in our program. Like there's 60 something
2
kids
months
overall.
You're going to get through everybody.
Yeah. So it's hard, but to me, Coach, it's a lot of let's spend time in the office and let's have conversations because they need to hear from the coach. To me, when you bring a kid in and you just talk a little bit, hey man, we need you. These are the reasons why you're important. These are the things you do for us. That just gives them a lift every time that happens. And so I try to spend a lot of time with our guys doing that. So there's a lot of meetings before practice starts of just taking time, pulling a guy aside while they're warming up, talking to them on the side while maybe one of the other coaches is kind of running a drill, bringing them over. We spend a lot of time giving some just affirmations to kids, and I think that has given a lot of payoff for us because you can see, there's a lot of kids in high school. You can see the up and down. You can almost see it on their face when they miss a shot. Like we lost them today, right? He's missed his first three. Like oh, I just lost him just like that. So we spend a lot of time in the one on one, and I think that has been a huge part. And the other part, coach, is like you said, when they buy into the system, when they believe in what you're doing, I think it gives them a lot of confidence to play free. And when we have given our guys a ton of freedom, like, hey, this is what we do. These are your options here. Go be a basketball player because we trust you. And I think because of that, our guys now, they feel like they can go out there and they can do what they do. There's not a lot of thought. There's not a lot of like, I've got to sit and I got to think. They get to just go be basketball players now. And as long as it's good basketball, as long as it's in our system, as long as it's the things that we preach day to day, you've got the freedom to let the ball go. You've got the freedom to make that decision. And I think our guys are now learning, like, okay, like I can shoot that shot and I don't have to look over my shoulder. Like
Yeah.
I try as much as I can to not be a bad shot guy. I'm not saying I never do it, but I try as much as I can to, like, if there's good things going on, if there's good basketball happening, we're going to win and lose the way we play. And as long as we're playing our style, we're doing what we do. There's just going to be some games where we get beat, but we're going to go down swinging how Bowie goes down swinging.
I do love that approach right there. Sometimes, with this style of play, coaches will say, well, what beats you? Well, typically bigger, faster, stronger,
yeah,
better beats us.
Yes.
And we tip our hat and we watch some film and see how maybe close we were and in some areas and how other areas we still need to clean up. But those areas typically aren't new. They're typically the things that we talk about every day anyway, that we're and each season, it seems like each team has different areas, where they need to improve. And so one thing I thought a takeaway from what you said was, or with your one-on-one meetings, like you're building relationships.
Right.
How do we build confidence in our players? Build relationships. Right. Because if you don't know, like me and Matt Garnett, our girls coach up here, he's the MG and MG basketball. We work camps during the summer, and I get to see these kids for a day, and a half a day, a full day, half a day. And parents will come up to me after and be like, oh, thank you so much for just instilling him with some confidence. And I want to be like, just so you know, like, I'm not even sure your kid's name. I don't know. I mean, is it Johnny? Is that who you're talking about? No, but like, he might be standing right there. But I really want to tell him, like, we didn't, because we actually discuss with them. We teach them where confidence comes from. It comes from your preparation, and then it comes from what you think about all day. And we teach them that they are the ones responsible for their confidence. Coaches can't steal it. Parents can't steal it. Friends can't steal it. The only person that is responsible for you losing your confidence or you not having any is yourself, because deep down that if you look in the mirror, you didn't do the work. If you did do the work, then you're allowing negative thoughts to grow like weeds in your head. Once we teach them that, like, yeah, they either make the choice, like, I have put in the time, I should be confident. So they tell their parents they worked on confidence. I didn't do anything. Yeah, I didn't say, hey, you know what? You're really good at this game if you didn't know that.
Right.
But confidence is one of those things where, golly, we get the blame as coaches quite a bit if their confidence starts to dip. I think in those dip moments, it's the relationship that we build with them that helps pull them out of any funk, reminding them, though, in that time, what's the one thing they can do? Get to work, get in the gym.
Exactly. Yeah. Nothing's moving without them putting in that effort. But that, high school kids there's a lot going on in their heads. Like, they're worried about school, they're worried about girlfriends, they're worried about all of those things. So, to me, that's what it's all. Let's continue to spend time with them. Let's continue to figure out what's going on. And, like, hey, when we're seeing it, like, let's go get on this early. Let's pull them into the office and let's start talking about this. So, I'm not saying we've got 100% success rate on it, but, I hope they leave the office and they feel a little bit better. Like, okay, that guy believes in me. He trusts me to go do what I do. And, now I just got to go get myself out of this funk. So, it's a lot of time, a lot of talking, but, it's also what we're here for. It's
Yeah,
also what we're
yeah.
here for with these
That's why we get
14
paid
to
the big
18-year-olds.
bucks.
Yeah, exactly.
The Jamodi podcast is powered by Sideline Interactive. Sideline Interactive is the leading manufacturer for high-quality, innovative scoring tables and LED video display boards that help coaches and schools bring more excitement to fans, create huge fundraising opportunities, and make their jobs easier. Visit sidelineinteractive.com to check out their amazing products.
Coach, this speed round. These are going to be quick questions. What do you think? Did you get to listen to Coach Cook's speed round?
I did not. I
Okay.
literally got to back right about
it
when
was long.
starting.
And so, but I'm just curious to see somebody that knows him well, what he thought. But he'll get to listen to yours, hopefully, and then
Yes.
line up what he thinks your answers would be.
Yes.
Favorite ice cream flavor?
Chocolate chip cookie dough.
Good one. Greatest shooter of all time?
Steph Curry.
Best basketball movie of all time?
White Men Can't Jump.
Nice. Not utilized very often. That's a good one. Texting or talking?
Talking.
Have you going back to the previous one? Have you watched the show White Men Can't Jump yet?
I have not.
Yeah, I think there's a show on. I think it's on Hulu or FX or something. One of the.
Did you watch it? Is it any good? Is it worth
I haven't.
watch?
I don't feel like I
Okay.
can. Like
yeah. That's kind of how I feel about it. I'm like, the movie was great. I think that's kind of where I think I may want to leave it there.
Yeah. Okay. For high school shot clock or no shot clock?
4. Absolutely.
Interesting. Okay. Now,
Absolutely.
the only reason I say that is obviously not because your games used to be 31 to 30. That was pre you. But I mean, I would imagine the actions that you run, the deeper you get into those, the higher the opportunity for a defender to make a mistake.
Yes.
Shorter shot clock, but not that all of your actions are slow. Obviously, they're not.
For sure. I don't disagree with that, but I think Texas has some of the best players in the country. We've got too many great athletes, too many schools with 3,000 plus kids. Like, to me, it makes too much sense for us to go and do it. There are states that have already shown it can be done.
SPC's done it.
Yes, and I like making guys learn how to play with the clock. I think it's important.
Yeah.
Like, I watch some of our guys now; they'll get the ball with 10 seconds left. It's like like they like they panic. And I'm like, hey, that's a lot of time.
Everybody hit somebody.
Yeah, so I'm all for it. I think it would be the best thing to happen to high school basketball. I think we also got stalled like twice last year, Coach, and I was ready to walk out of the gym. So that may have something to do with that.
Did you allow them to continue to stall, or did you come out?
No, we did not. First quarter ended 2-0. First quarter ended 2-0. We were down 2-0, and then second quarter, I was like, "This ain't happening. I'm not going down this way."
See, because I always feel like that's the part of that argument that is rarely talked about. Obviously, people get upset, and how could they just hold the ball like that? There's another team on the floor that coach is also very okay with them sitting back and standing there as well.
Right.
But anyway, just something to think.
I couldn't sit there and watch it. So we trapped, we pressed. We were like, this ain't happening. We're not going down this way.
Yeah, I think for the 6A, 5A, and 4A levels, boys and girls, it's a no-brainer at UIL in public school. The 6A taps, I think, is very similar, and then 5A, we have some teams that can, like, obviously not Westlake, Austin, St. Michael's. I look at their roster, I look at mine, and I'm kind of the way that you've talked about yours. We've got some smart kids, and that hopefully they love the Lord because they're here. They love the Lord. They're smart, and they can shoot it. But favorite holiday?
Christmas. It's the only day we get 5 days off from basketball and get to actually see family.
What do you do during Thanksgiving? You play all the way up and after?
We get a day off. We get Thanksgiving day off from practice. I think we play the Monday before and the Saturday after. So
I started going Wednesday and off the rest. And one of the biggest reasons too is one of my senior parents years ago, and I do feel like being at a private school that parents have more say. Like
Right.
it is an open door. It was an open door at McKinney, except for playing time. But I think
Yes.
here, I think I'll talk to them about anything. If they're playing
Okay.
time, we can discuss that, and it is what it is. But a parent of a senior said, and I coached her older boy, so it was my second kind of go through with her, and she said, this is just our last Thanksgiving with kind of everybody coming in,
Yeah.
a high school kid, because we were in the Fantasy of Lights tournament every year where it'd be that day right after Thanksgiving. We're in Wichita Falls.
Right.
So I decided that year, I was like, yeah, it was early on. We won't do that. I loved it. And I'm not
Yeah.
trying to tell you or anybody else, but I
No.
feel like we always have to check, in my opinion, are we doing what we're doing because we truly believe our team needs it, or is it just because our opponents are doing it? And I thought
Right.
I would always do all the stuff that other coach would do because I didn't want to be left out or feel left out. And Cole Johnson at Legacy, Frisco Legacy, is a buddy of mine. He started doing that first, and I kind of followed suit. But anyway,
I love that though. I think it's a great idea. They do need a break, coach. We get them so much. Like at some point, like a couple days off isn't gonna kill us. And it's probably good for everybody to get a little
no
reset.
doubt. And I think too, it's like I took that approach even into the spring, where faith basketball is going to end late February. Hopefully the 1st of March, but late February, 1st of March, it's going to end, and their select season begins. And so we're not going to focus on anything faith related. I'm going to become their skills coach. We're going to get them strong. We're going to get them ready for that. But it's that idea, like you said, though, too, of, all right, guys, great season. Monday, shell drill. It's like, Monday, we're working on flow again. And I think it helps me. And because my personality, I think, would be to, hey, we're going year round, baby. Like, we're never stopping this, because that's what I was like as a player. These kids, basketball is 4th or 5th on their list.
Right.
And
100%.
It helps me.
Hey, and it's funny, Coach Cook, not to bring him up again, but he, like I said, I talk to him all the time. Like, we were just going through a little bit of a lull where I felt like our team was like the energy, and we had been going. And I told him we went like 50 workouts since it may have been 40 workouts since last season ended. Maybe one of them had been bad, and then we went like 3 in a row that I was like, we were terrible.
Yeah.
And I was calling Coach, I don't know what's going on. He's like, man, they hear from you every day. They never miss you. We gave them a week off. The next week we said, we're coming in, open gyms, study hall, whatever you need to do. If you want to opt out, sit out, do whatever you need to do. We've come back and we've been great. Just because it was like a week of like, by Friday, they're almost like, I kind of miss practice. I kind of miss being in there with them. And it was the best thing we did. And I honestly think it's helped us get kind of this preseason back on track. So now I try to be more cognizant. Today, weight room only when we get in the period. Get a break. Take some time away from me. You don't have to hear my voice in the weight room. Let the assistant coaches, who they all, they like the assistant coaches.
Sure.
Those guys, those are their boys. So they like being around those guys. So, hey, go be with them. Go do your thing. And I honestly think sometimes less is more. And I have to remind myself of that more and more.
Hard to remember.
Yes.
Great nugget from Coach Cook there about they don't miss you. Like, that's something to remember.
Yes.
What book would you give someone?
I'm a Feinstein guy. Like, I love all of his stuff. So I just reread Season on the Brink by with Bobby Knight, and like maybe my all-time favorite. Like, some of the stuff in there when Bobby Knight is coming out of the locker room, and just after the bad losses, I feel this way sometimes. Like, after the bad losses, and he's just so distraught talking to his friends, and he's like, I got to get out of coaching. I love thinking about like being in the coach's head and in the inside stuff. Like, I think Season on the Brink is great. Like, just for the coaching stuff, for watching the ups and downs and the ebbs and flows of the season, and good win. We've got a great team. We can win a national championship. Bad win. We may never win a game again. And just like, knowing somebody that has 1,000 wins was going through the same range of emotions I was last year at 17 and 13 is like kind of comforting. So I'd probably say Season on the Brink.
Good call. Up 3 on defense with 7 seconds left. Do you foul or no foul?
Foul. Yeah, I'm a foul guy.
You're a foul
feel
guy.
like I've seen it too many times. I've seen that three go in. Like
Yeah.
I'd rather. Is it going to go? Are you going to make the free throw, get the rebound, kick it out? Like I'd rather lose that way personally.
Yeah. Name a bucket list item you still need to do. You're relatively young, so you might have a bunch.
I'd like to travel more. Like to probably make it to Spain.
Nice.
Somewhere Spain, Italy, somewhere like that. But really out of the country, Australia for a trip with St. Ed's, which was amazing. I'd love to maybe do something like that. I think that would be cool. But most of my time is just here in Austin. Worst places to be, don't get me wrong, but I spend most of my time in a gym and in Austin.
Yeah. In basketball, who is the GOAT?
Probably show my youth, but I'm a LeBron guy. So yeah, like that's I'm a LeBron guy.
You got the 95% of the Jordan coaches that have been on board with everything you've said. They just clicked off right there.
Yeah, they just turned it off, which I don't blame them. But I'm a LeBron guy. I think
he's great.
He's the best.
He's great.
I think he's the best.
Yeah, his career unmatched, overall longevity, and been great for the game too. I mean,
yes.
The worst thing he's ever done is just open up a school for kids. Like
exactly.
The guy. Yeah,
what a jerk.
Well, Space Jam 2 was bad. I will.
That's true. That was a travesty. Yeah, for a guy that can't score, that's the all-time leading scorer. That's a pretty good deal too. So, like, what I wish people would tell me I couldn't coach and I'd win a million games. But so the guy's pretty impressive.
Coach, this has been impressive. I've really enjoyed our talk, getting to learn more about you and in your program, and thank you so much for giving up your time and sharing. This was awesome.
Yeah, this is true. I really appreciate you having me. Like I said, I'm a fan of your show. So when I got the call, like I was thrilled. I've been looking forward to it all week. So super grateful for you. And like I said, I've heard so many great things about you from the people that have been on already. And definitely looking forward to you and I remaining in touch and following your teams.
Yeah, I love that. One of my favorite parts of getting to do this is the relationships that get to build. I think the coaching profession is really special because there's very few things like it. And the only people that really know and understand are the guys on the other side of this call, or the guys on, within our little circles that we have. And so I agree. I'm going to be watching you and rooting for you guys. And again, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, appreciate you, Coach. Thank you so much.
Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the Jamodi Podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.